The panelists are sharing their experiences, observations on 4 different aspects of the transformation journey. One is about the leadership. You need the right kind of leadership, both on the family as well as the business front. The second is clarity about the vision and the strategy. The third is the need for professionalism and professionalization as a journey. And the fourth is the need for shared values, developing the familyness within the organization. And so each of the speakers will be focusing on each of these different themes. They will be sharing their views, and then we will have a discussion among ourselves, and then we will have questions and answers, discussions based on the questions. So I request you to write down your questions or thoughts as you go along. We will be collecting, our volunteers will be collecting the questions as we go along, and those will be passed over to us, and then we will be sharing taking them up for discussion. So we will not be passing around the mic, but we thought that the most effective thing is to get the questions and then discuss those things. Okay, so my request to you is that keep your pen ready, paper ready, and keep writing your questions, and we will take up one by one. Okay, so Renuka, over to you.
Thank you, Professor. Good evening, everybody. I want to begin with congratulating Suresh and Bala. They came and briefed me yesterday evening about what a wonderful firm they have set up. It's a matter of great pride and, I would say, lot of happiness to see my ex-colleague Bala having created a new venture. And today I am also very, very thrilled to have another ex-colleague who has turned entrepreneur, Mr. Tirupati, in the audience, and that has been the beauty of ICICI, which has not only spawned great professionals, but also many entrepreneurs along the way. All of you are very, very successful entrepreneurs, which is why you are clients of Metis. I really don't know what value I can add. Having been in the investment business in the last over 15 years, I've been very fortunate to see many different types of businesses owned by very different families, and therefore the proximity of seeing what the families go through in terms of decision making with respect to what businesses to follow, who should do what, should be dilute at this point of time, how do we embark on a totally new business, what would it mean if we brought another shareholder or got into a new business, should we consider selling this business, is something that I have seen from very, very close proximity. So I think the best use of my experience would be really in answering questions rather than doing a monologue. I think that one big change that has happened is historically family businesses were asset intensive businesses where people who had access to capital could dream of setting businesses. I think India has made a decisive shift in that, and today it is people who have access to knowledge, people who can have access to high quality human resources, people who have access to large dreams and ability to commit themselves passionately over long periods of time, create value which is disproportionate compared to the value that was created in the erstwhile corporate India, which was largely an asset intensive, kind of business. The second big change is that today, thanks to access to private capital, we live in an environment of a much higher level playing field. I don't have to be a Tata or a Birla or some big family to be able to create wealth or to be able to be a successful entrepreneur. I need to have a very good idea. I need to have the passion to commit myself to that idea. I need to have the charisma to attract very good talent, and I need to have the wisdom to know that I don't have the answer to everything. I need to find the right answer rather than to impose the answer that I believe is the right answer to my business. If you if a person sets out with this open mindedness, you can build companies which are of extraordinary value. And therefore, this puts pressure on incumbents, because your business models can be challenged, your businesses can become extinct overnight. So, the insulation and the protection that some of the traditional businesses had, because of many things that Professor articulated, that the access to network, access to grooming within the family, reputation, everything which was available to family, which they could pass on from generation to generation, thereby creating their own cliques or cliches of, successful families who alone can own businesses. Today, according to me, it doesn't exist. If it existed, I couldn't have set up multiples. I was absolutely nobody when I was on the street on the day +1 of leaving ICICI. So much so that my father, first day when I left my house, as usual around 9:30, clad like this, he said, "Where are you going today and who's going to meet you?" Right? Because he could not believe that India has changed to the point that if an individual has a vision and the ability to commit to that vision, there is hope, and that challenges incumbents. So, multiples can challenge other incumbents, and in each of your businesses you can have complete surprises by way of newcomers who can come and challenge. In family businesses, there are other obvious challenges in terms of emotion, relationship, all of that, and family wealth tied up into every decision making. So, it is one entanglement, it is a jalebi. When I want to take a decision in a family business, I am thinking about what did this person's father do to my father, and he is after all the elder of the two, and after all he has 2 sons, but I have 2 daughters. It just gets endlessly complex. And in this complex milieu of thoughts that go into the decision making, the business is forgotten. And the very objective of the very root of that thought, which is what is good for my business, is forgotten in this complex milieu of emotion, relationship, people issues, and so on. So, I would like to leave some fairly simple messages about companies who have handled these. These are, public companies, well-known companies. I have had the privilege of being quite close to them, and leave very, very simple messages on, how they have handled it. So, the first thing is to really disentangle family members, their age, their seniority, my prior relationship with them, that we sit in the same dinner table and eat, that I and my cousin, our fathers are brothers, and after all we, played marble together, and all of that aside, and simply say that the wealth that you partake in has nothing to do with the job that you do in the company. The family can decide that wealth will be distributed equally between various people, whether it's cousins, sons, daughters, spouses, whatever it is. And when it comes to handling responsibility in an organization, it is quite independent of what share of wealth you have. And I've seen this play out very beautifully in Arvind Mills, for instance, where I am on the board as well. The fact that Sanjay Lalbhai was chosen to take Arvind Mills forward itself was a surprise when it happened, although it happened probably 25 or 30 years back, when Mr. Arvind Lalbhai decided to take a back seat, and he said, amongst all my brother's children, Arvind Lalbhai himself was a bachelor, and he had the highest shareholding in Arvind Mills. He said, amongst all my brother's children, various children, I think Sanjay Bhai has the best kind of capability and the vision to really run this company. Now, Mr. Sanjay Bhai has 2 sons. One of them is a very, very quiet person, but technically a very astute person. The other one is a very vivacious, he can open up easily, he can talk a lot, but he is very, very interested in technology. Both of them are on the board. One of them runs their online business, another one runs a technical textile business. Both these businesses put together today doesn't even contribute to 2% of Arvind Mill's turnover or profits, but they are on the board, and probably they have similar share in the wealth. And it is a whole bunch of professionals who run the company, and both these boys along with the father in the board take important decisions in terms of capital allocation, future strategy, do we have the right man in the right business, and so on. So it's very, very important to disentangle the responsibility that anybody plays with the wealth that he might have. And somewhere we also tend to complicate things by saying that if you are a 10% shareholder, you should be doing 10% of the work. It doesn't happen. The second is that finally businesses are about having these winning ideas and committing yourself to the idea. And one of the worst mistakes family businesses can do is to take a winning idea from one family member and give it to some other family member to execute it, because the other family member is a more senior person, or is the eldest sibling amongst various children or so on. The example here that comes to my mind is Pantaloon. It was Mr. Kishore Biyani's idea to enter organized retailing with his somewhat of a miniature experience with Pantaloon. And he then rallied his entire family around this idea of getting into organized retailing in a big way, going out and taking public money, thereby the family getting diluted, entering so many businesses like Big Bazaar, setting up these Pantaloon shops. And then he also put a very interesting family trust structure as to how family will take money from the business, and he really sorted out with a fairly large number of family members in terms of how everyone pretty much can have a similar lifestyle. Their children's wedding need not be celebrated differently. It's not that Kishore Biyani's daughter's wedding will be top class and somebody else's children will not have equal access or whatever. But what you do in business is completely a matter of competency. So it was just Kishore Biyani and Rakesh Biyani, who was his nephew. I don't know whether it was his brother's son or cousin brother's son or whatever. So it was just the two of them in the family. His brothers had limited role. They were coming to office. Nobody was asked not to come to office, but they did not do any job that was majorly creating an impact in the business. So I think it's extremely important for families to realize that ultimately you are in business to create wealth. If that was not the objective, why are you wasting your time doing a business? Go to temples, listen to music, read books, have fun. So since you are primarily in business for creating wealth, and wealth can only be created if you have competent people doing competent job, it's extremely important to sit down with the family and make honest assessment of, do I have the right man doing the right job? And here I would also add that our culture particularly doesn't help, right? I mean, to be perfectly blunt, within families particularly, whenever we have difference of opinion, our best solution is remaining quiet. And somehow we all assume that magically all problems will get solved if you keep all the problems to yourself and remain completely quiet and don't take any decision. That doesn't help. Somewhere we have to get comfortable to talk and have fairly honest, transparent conversation within the family, and maybe take the help of external mentors, to facilitate the conversation and figure out a way of how am I going to create an environment of trust to have this conversation, that to begin with itself my family members don't think that I have come with some personal agenda, and then kind of build on that. That is again very, very important. The third example I would like to give is that, quite often the question is, should family run this business or should I run it with professionals? And somewhere this is seen as an either or. Either families will, my father, my cousins, my children will run this business, or professionals will run this business. to my mind, as India, as corporate India, when we are going through this transition, to be realistic and also to be successful, because I keep telling my investors, they keep asking me that why don't you buy businesses and run them yourself. I truly believe that you need a lot of entrepreneurial energy to create value in a country as complex as India. To my mind, for a long period of time, in most situations, in 9 out of 10 situations, the correct answer is going to be the family along with professionals, and not is it going to be family run or is it going to be professional run. I don't think that's going to be the correct solution. So families have to find a way of how am I going to engage the best talent and bring the best to bear. And the example that comes to me readily to mind is one of our portfolio companies. Again, I am not here to advertise for any of the companies that we are working for. So please, I don't want that misunderstanding. But really to give you examples so that you have some peg to hold rather than making it an academic discussion, is PVR. So this is a family owned company, but professionals have a seat at the same table as the family. So professionals are actively engaged in terms of every key strategic decision that the family would take. And we are private equity investors in the family. The way private equity investors are involved in the decision making in terms of what's the right thing to do for the business, how will we go about achieving it, is again a stellar example of how families can work with professionals. And I have seen this in innumerable companies where families are able to treat professionals as family. You get an extraordinary formula there where you are able to bring the entrepreneurial energy, the risk taking capability, the ability to use everything that professor said, which is a great strength that the family brings, and combined with the knowledge and capability of outstanding professionals in the marketplace to create a winning combination of entrepreneurial energy and professional capability to create that organization which will have a unique positioning in the marketplace and not get challenged by new companies that are born with different philosophy. Eating at the same table, sharing the same stories, sharing the anxieties without any fear, not having different stories for management and different stories for family. I think it creates a bonding. It is like one unit that is trying to create value for the business. So the answer really is work with the professionals and treat them as family, and they will give you a life to create wealth for your family. And in bargain, to be fairly honest, Indian professionals don't even demand so much. They don't take away anything. Surprisingly, they just want a very wonderful environment where they can bring their best skills to bear. And if you share a small fraction of the wealth that they create, they are thrilled beyond, beyond words. So that's all it takes. Lastly, I would think that metamorphosis in businesses is something that all of you have to embrace as an inevitable reality. If you, somewhere the comfort comes from, no, I'll keep my business and run it exactly the way I ran 10 years back, 5 years back, and 5 years forward as well. It's going to remain the same. You would become a dinosaur, whether you recognize it or not. And as professor showed in that picture, you may see two faces, somebody else will be seeing a mask. You may think that you are a happening company, somebody else is seeing you as a dinosaur. And it is inevitable, and I can give you innumerable examples from Bombay Textile Mills story. Many of them made money by selling their real estate, but I won't give too much credit for that. I mean, that is something that just happened, that people had real estate and they made a lot of money. Nobody saw the change coming. Nobody prepared for the change. Whereas you see a small company like Naukri, which was offline executive search. So they were doing all this mid-level and senior executive search work in a company called Quadrangle. They saw this big opportunity coming in IT, where they said technology, embracing technology to do recruitment is going to create a superordinate opportunity beyond what they were doing. We're the first ones to move and said that let quadrangle be where it is, I will go and set up Naukri, and if it makes sense for me to merge the two, I will, or something else will be born. It was the openness of allowing your core business to be where it is, grabbing the new opportunity, bringing in new people, embracing technology and going out and creating altogether a new enterprise of valuations which are order of magnitude from what you were doing, which allowed Sanjeev Bikhchandani to become who he became. Otherwise, he would have been a dinosaur at this point of time. So, I think it's important for every family to go to bed with a question that, am I becoming a dinosaur, or am I becoming the next big thing that is, Lastly, I also think that if you feel that I don't want to run this business anymore, I have a very good business going, but the family complexity, the capability within the family, or the energy that is there, or the investment that you will have to do and the dilution that you have to suffer is much, much higher than what you are comfortable to do. It is perfectly okay to sell your business. I think timing the sale of your business is an as important a decision as running your business well. And selling a business is not being defeated. Selling a business is bringing a logical, successful end to an era of success that you could run along with your family. It is wisdom, it is courage, it is success, and it is not failure. That's all I would like to share, and I'll leave the rest to the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renuka. It was really good. One of the underlying messages of Renuka's thoughts, I would say that the leader has to be a change agent, change facilitator, and that the change leader has to be a trustee. And that person has the
Give him the mic.
Yeah, unless the leader has the trusteeship value, which means that the leader believes that the leader is holding the wealth of the family in trust for the next generation, preserving and growing it and transferring and handing it over to the next generation. I think the leader is not doing justice. So the change leader has to have the basic values of trusteeship. And that's what reflected in many of the instances that Renuka shared. Now moving on, I think we have Suresh to share some of his thoughts on vision and strategy alignment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just to give you some sense of what we did in the morning briefly, today morning we had a Chanakya series which we launched this year, which is specific to Gen Next entrepreneurs to discuss matters concerning the family and business. And the topic why I brought in was our client sector and our prospects who came in today for the session defied the logic of only 4% moves beyond third generation. Today morning when we had our team of, our group of people who came in, I think more than 10% were third generations. So I just wanted to leave you with the thought that there is a possibility to defy the logic as well, and history as well. Second thing, I just want to leave some thoughts based on whatever topic we contemplated. We actually bring about interesting topics year on year to discuss about family and business. And this year we discussed about many topics, and finally we came out with the topic of building blocks for transformation for future ready business. The purpose of this topic was to, at the backdrop of where we are today, in terms of the kind of troubles and turbulences we've been having over the last few years, and finally we have got some hope in terms of a stable government coming in, And now there is generally a feeling in everyone's mind as if lots of things have happened in India, and the hope is significant as of today. So therefore, over the last few years, because of these troubles where good companies, good ideas have gone through quite a lot of issues, maybe because of leverage, maybe because of business model changing, because of the environment issues. Now we are at a situation that we just need to be ready for this Modi India for the next 10 years, which is what people are talking about. So just to bring about the context of what we can discuss today is there a need for transformation? And we all believe, I think most of our clients as well believe that there is a need for transformation to get ready for the future. Of course, it's going to take a month, year or so to put the house in order for the government itself. So for the real policies to see actions, which is going to take a little while. Therefore, I think in order to get ready to be prepared for the future of India, there is a need for transformation. So we just wanted to bring that or sensitize that transformation as a topic. In our view, transformation is all about, of course, there is always a talk about, the whole world is talking about change. Of course, I'm also going to share some few thoughts on only change. So the first step of transformation is change. And change is also a function of willingness to change as a first place. Many a times, family-owned companies, entrepreneurial families are very complacent. So therefore, there's a baggage. So therefore, the dynamics are so different, and there is also a need to change. So changing is also a process. So thereby, you understand whether there is a need to change, and there is also an introspection as to where to change. There is also a facilitation as to how to change, and monitor whether am I changing, and does it produce any kind of results. Does this change brought in some consistency in the system, then actually becomes a transformation in our view. Therefore, we feel transformation in terms of, while we talked about quite a lot of building blocks, there is a board which talks about 30 building blocks of trust, cohesiveness, togetherness, and all more essential subject, softer building blocks. Today as a topic we chose 4 essential building blocks. First is vision and the alignment, which is the first and foremost building block, and leadership, professionalism, and family values and familyness. We are introducing a new word called familyness. It's not available in the dictionary itself, I think. So in terms of vision, my thoughts are there should be a 3-way vision and a 3-way alignment in any family business. What is 3-way? One is working family members, non-working family members, and the CEO of the business should have a vision which is properly aligned. I don't want to bring about management team at this point in time, so we wanted to stress upon the need for a vision which should be a 3-way kind of a vision. Of course, in many of the family-owned companies which I have seen over the last 20 years, vision is something which is a statement which was written at the time of starting a business by somebody, where the business has evolved, people have evolved, products have evolved, markets have evolved, revenues have evolved, everything has happened, but the vision remains the same in many families. And some other families where the vision was written by the brand consultant or somebody just put it in the website. I'm just not trying to undermine, I'm just bringing in practicality to the whole thing. I'm just not wanting to be bookish about it. Therefore, vision is all about sitting across the table to take stock of what we set for ourselves and what are we doing today and where are we trying to head. Where are we trying to head as a family, as an individual who is leading the business, and in terms of wealth, in terms of succession, in terms of what you want to leave as a legacy. So in this context, I just wanted to bring, there are 2 sets of families which we have been seeing so long. One is an evolving entrepreneurial family. Another one is a professional family. Of course, it doesn't mean that professionals are not entrepreneurial and entrepreneurs are not professionals. But just to bring in a perspective, the evolving entrepreneurial family's objective is to build business and create wealth. But the professional family is to build institutions and leave a legacy. Of course, everybody's aspiration is to, build an entrepreneurial family first, create wealth first, then institutionalize, and eventual end game is to become a professional family. So there is a lot of stark differences between an evolving entrepreneurial family and the professional families. Even if you take business ethics, in an evolving entrepreneurial family, it's flexible. In a professional family, it's absolutely uncompromising, and so on and so forth. So my point here is to briefly talk about vision plays a very important role, and we as Metis, whenever we start an engagement with any clients, we spend quite a lot of time on vision and alignment. Of course, many of the entrepreneurs actually don't have time to discuss that, but still we somehow drag them into the table and say that, please tell me where you want to head. Why the hell you need so many businesses? Why not we shut few of them? Why don't we start a new opportunity? And what are we creating? So all these nice questions, that's the only thing we do. We keep asking questions. So that's what we do. Then comes alignment. Alignment is another important point, which always people believe they're all aligned. What they always believe is the emotional alignment, that he's my brother, he's my sister, she's my sister, my father. We have love, so that itself is an alignment. Okay. So the alignment in our own experience with family-owned businesses is pretty much subjective. There is no specifics. Here, that is what we insist, saying there is a need for a three-way alignment again, between the family members in terms of vision, goals, executions, where they want to go and all that. Second thing, with respect to management, is also able to see the same kind of vision, and there is an alignment between the ownership and the management. In fact, Professor Ram was sharing a nice statistic some time back, where he did a survey with well-known families, very, very large families, and he was talking about, I think I have the permission to reveal, one of the large families, Godrej families, where he spoke. There are 14 questions asked with the management, and there are 14 questions asked with the promoters, and 90% they are on sync. Such kind of openness, in terms of where the business is heading, how the attitudes, whether it is attitude, behavior, leadership, professionalism, all sorts of questions were covered. So, in fact, that is what we are trying to bring about with most of our clients, saying if there is no ambiguity between, or less ambiguity between family members in terms of constructive issues, I'm not saying all, it is impossible to have less ambiguity on all matters. So if you're able to have less ambiguity on constructive matters which defines the future of this business and the family, and if there is less ambiguity in the management team in terms of the way forward, in terms of, again, the vision of the business and the kind of value it can create for the employees as well, and if there is less ambiguity between the ownership and the management, again, I think that's the best situation you can ever think of. And in the last 20 years of our experience in terms of working only with the entrepreneurial families, which gave us a learning or a knowledge in terms of what are the few things some families have done right, what makes a 30-year-old company to crumble overnight, what makes a 5-year company to grow beyond, and certain key differences are attitudes and the clarity with the kind of vision what they have, and the kind of familyness with which they handle issues is few of the essential qualities which in our own experiences we have all seen. That's why we just wanted to share our thoughts in terms of, all of you are successful, but we just wanted to share our thoughts that this is something, we want to leave you with few thoughts on each of the building blocks, in addition to, 30, 40 essential building blocks, to sensitize that in today's context, the past is always leverage to grow. I think the present is basically consolidate and professionalize. Professionalize the family as well as professionalize the setup. And as always, Ram says, professionalism is no big deal. It's an attitude. It's nothing big. It's a word which the whole world talks about. So today is professionalize and consolidate, or consolidate and professionalize in terms of priority of where you are. And I think the future is innovate and institutionalize. I just want to leave you with these thoughts. And of course, with all other topics, eminent panelists will speak more on that. That the past is leverage to grow. Of course, you should leverage to grow as well now, but there is a need for consolidation to put the house in order, because the status of many, many family-owned companies are not so good to, reap the benefits of the growth which India is going to envisage in future. And the present is to consolidate and professionalize. I'm not advocating anything, I'm just sharing my thoughts. And the future, of course, innovation is a constant journey, and future is innovate and institutionalize. With these few thoughts, I just want to say thank you for patience.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Suresh, for the valuable inputs. I think that the running theme has been the alignment across, alignment vertically, horizontally, and that's possible only if there is huge clarity in terms of communication and sharing of thoughts. And that, I think that is connected to what Renuka said about the leadership. And if the leader is good in terms of building up clarity in terms of the thoughts, in terms of sharing this, in terms of facilitating discussion, in terms of openness, then only the change will happen, then only the transformation will happen, then only the professionalism will build on. So let's move on and listen to Mr. Ullas Kamath to talk on his experiences of professionalism. Yeah, please.
Good evening, friends. I'm here to listen to Professor Kavil, because if you want to hear him in ISB, it's very expensive. Here it is here you don't have to pay anything. You can sit next to him. And Renuka and Ramanath, one of the finest investment banker country has produced, and one of the 50 powerful women in the country. So who misses that opportunity to share the dais with them? So my job here today to tell you that whatever you are discussing, most of them are irrelevant. Most of them are irrelevant. Every business, whether it's family or non-family, has the same problem. Only when it becomes a family problem, then it will be discussed in public and it will come in the newspaper. That's all the difference is. Whether it's a small family, whether it's a big family, every family has a problem. If they say there is no problem, then there is a problem. That is the problem. We say in Kannada, there is a saying that every dosa has holes. Big dosa, small dosa. If it is a dosa, there is a hole. If it is not there, then there is not dosa. That's uttappam. Correct? So this is the way how the family business is. Believe me, working with the family to do a business is the best thing what can happen anybody, any point in time. It's the blissful place to work with the family as an outsider and get treated yourself as an insider. And that's the best place to be in. And people who have worked with the family business, only they can share what is that all about. Rest of the people can only write, read, and they can share others' experience. But working with the family is the mindset game. It's your mind should be very, very clear that I am working with the family. What is in it for me? What is in it for them? And why will I do? And why I don't do it? And that's all what it takes. Most of the family thinks that they can hire professionals. It's not easy to hire professionals. An intelligent person will not join a dumb family business. An intelligent professional will not join a dumb family business, wherein the son is a management trainee, come in E-class. He's a management trainee because he'll say that okay, my son has just joined the business, but he's like a management trainee. Treat him like a management trainee only, he'll tell everybody, but he comes in E-class, goes in E-class Mercedes-Benz. That's not the way how a professional work. So I've been given 12 minutes, 4 minutes to give my views, and next 8 minutes, 2 minutes into 4 questions, 8 minutes, I need to give the answers. So this is the way how they have told me how to speak. So it will be about 12 minutes, and we are in FMCG business, 12 plus 2 to ho sakta hai. You know, like it's all free business. If you take this, that is free. If you take that, something else will be free. So 12 might become 14 minutes. I can't do anything for that. So number one is that globally, every business has started from family only. At some point in time, it has become professionalization because they decided enough is enough, somebody else run for me. All the businesses will start from their own kith and kins, their own brothers' children, sisters' children, everybody. The reason is that is the cheapest labor available. That is the cheapest labor available. No CL, no DL, no PL, nothing. Come to the office, go back whenever I tell you. Come early, go late. That is the reason they hire their own people, not because of anything else. Most of the family members keep their relatives as watchdogs. If you think that they are there to do the work, you are mistaken. They are there only to watchdog. Who has come at what time, who has gone at what time, who is going where, who is buying what, which person is talking about whom where. Relatives are there to do that job. As long as a professional understands that, then he knows that he should not talk in front of them. So, as and when the family does well, the problems will come. There are questions that whether family is there because of the business or business is there because of the family. 100 out of 100 you can take it granted. Family is there if the business is doing well. If the business is not doing well, everybody says that my health is not okay, I get tension. Like nobody wants to sign liability contract. Nobody wants to give their personal property for, like company's loan. As long as the business is doing well, everybody said, I'm also a part of it. Even my dreams, I think about this business only. So the business, if it is doing well, every family member wants to be a part of the family business. If the business is not doing well, no family member, other than yourself who have started it, rest of the people will start going away from you. So problem comes if it is doing well. If it is doing well, if you want to professionalize, then it is difficult. If you are not doing well, if you want to professionalize, it's impossible. No professional will join you for a loss-making company with enough troubles. They always join a profit-making company and they want a part of it. Definitely they want a part of it. Today's cost of professional management, if my understanding and with my understanding of my friends like me who are working in many family managed organizations, it costs you 10% of your profit. Not easy to share. And family, when it comes to the children, everybody thinks that their children are useless. At least inside home they talk like that. Outside they say that he is the person who will take it to the next 10 generations. Inside home, in front of wife, we'll say that this fellow don't know anything about the value. He don't know value of the money. You know how we used to struggle? This fellow, what he knows about it. This is the way how they start talking when the child is born only. From then they start telling him that he is useless and useless and useless. He don't know anything about the money. He don't know value of the money. You only give him the money. He has done his OPM from Harvard. What is the use? He has done this AMP from Wharton's. What is the use? What is the use? Means there's no use in all those institutions. There's no use. People have come. Dropouts have done much better than the drop-ins. Correct? All over the world. People who have started from garage, they are much better than the people who have started from a multi-story building. This is the way how the business is. So the children, I'm telling you that please tell your children they are the best in the world. Inside the house also and outside the house also. At least he'll become better than yesterday. And you people always, family people, will always trust outsider than the insider. No. Because he's been working with me for the last 20 years. I know about him. Don't worry about it. They will not believe a child born to that family. They think that no. He doesn't know anything about the business. So business breaks because of this. The children think that my father don't have confidence in my ability to do. Then why should I work? I won't work. But as soon as they go outside the house, everybody says that he is so-and-so's son. He is the person who is the next MD of the company. Then they want to become the next MD of the company. So that's the confusion is created by us and not by the children. I give full marks to the children. And children are far superior than you. Children are far informed than you. Children knows the world much better than you. How many of you know the Google world? And they know the Google world. Before you say, you know what happened? They'll always say, no, it has not happened. So, professionalization has to start in your business from yesterday. Children had to take the leadership. Corporate governance, whether you have children, whether you don't have children, whether they are on the board, not on the board, still you can have a corporate governance. My advice, I always say that, best way to transform the business is by getting married to private equity. at the early stage. I'm not saying that Renuka Ramanath is here or Subbu is there. It's just because that is the least cost transformation. They come in, they give you the money also, they sit in your board also, they teach you also, and they make their 10-15% 3 multiple. But they can't do only their 10-15% 3 multiple. Your remaining 85% also will become 3 multiple, maybe more than that. So in Jyoti, it is investment of 5,000 rupees in 1984. That is the only money what the promoter has brought in, and a wonderful product like Ujala, fabric whitener, and Ayana Ujala Charbunda Wala. It is the one which whole country knows about it. And from there, when we were 80 crore company with 20 crore profit, we diluted 10% for 150 crore valuation, and Subbu invested 15 crore. And they realized when they invested 15 crore, I had an FD of 20 crore. When they invested 15 crore, we had an FD of 20 crore. The questions were asked that why did you raise the money? I said to make my FD 35 crore. So I have 20, you are 50, now you sit on my board. And they wanted 1 seat, I gave them 2 seats. He and his friend, colleague Rahul Basim. That is transformation for us. When they sat on our board, when they start talking to us, when they start telling us what we should want, what we should do, they brought in E&Y, they brought in KPMG, they brought in the Amarchand Mangaldas, they brought in the best of the lawyers, best of the people, and everything was free. Everything was free. It's all private equity context. This is an entrepreneur-driven company that we should work like that. Then the second round, we went to Actis, we went to CLSA, and the third round, we went to ICICI London, I went to ICICI Toronto, everybody invested money, and then these are all the managers, somewhere we need to exit. So we gave them exit through public issue. So we became public by default. We became public because default, so 4 shareholders was replaced by 45,000 shareholders in a public issue. So you become public, then you are public. Once you are a public, then every quarter you get that. What is the number? What is the growth? What is the CAGR growth? And when public start asking, it is like somebody chasing you from behind. You keep running and running and running. Now, quarter on quarter you need to grow, year on year you need to grow. Then doesn't matter whether you're in a family business or a non-family business, somebody is chasing you. Everybody has to run. Whether you're a family member, no family member, everything is on a quarter on basis. Today we are on a weekly basis number. We release ours internally, we release the numbers on every Saturday. Internally to see whether we are on track. Who has the time to talk to the family here? Which family has the time to talk on a weekly numbers? This is the way how the company can grow. Family, recruit them at an appropriate age. Before that, see whether they're interested in the business when they're 15, 16. There is a time you should involve them in the business discussion. If they have interest, send them good education. Whether in India, abroad, send them for good education. Thereafter, when they come back after education, 2 years, you send them to E&Y, KPMG, PwC. 2 years if they work, rest of their life they don't have to work. That is the way how they get the work done from people. E&Y, PwC, KPMG, all my friends are here. 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock they'll leave you in the night. By the time they come home, no time, they sleep. No discussion only. Again get up, go to E&Y. And we made all our children to work in such kind of big offices. They're extremely happy. After 2 years, when they come to the office as a management trainee, make sure they report to the professionals. Make sure they go from a management trainee to the middle of management, to the management over a period of 10 years. Appropriate age to run a company is around 40 in Indian context, so that you can take it to the next generation. Because here people get married early, so they'll have children early. So you can only pass on when they are 40s, and then 25 years they run. So in Jyoti's context, this is what exactly what you have done, and there is no magic other than this. It's just private equity, public, then acquisition, then inorganic growth, then the merger, then bring in the management team, a fantastic management team. To acquire Henkel, I took 2 months to acquire Henkel, paying 785 crore. To get the new CEO for Jyoti, Mr. Raghunandan, one of the finest CEO whom we can find in the country, one of the finest CEO in FMCG, Raghunandan, who is heading our company now as a CEO, he took 9 months to say yes. Can you imagine? He took 9 months to say yes. Ullas, I'll get back to you. Ullas, I'll get back to you. Sir, say no, sir. I'll tell you tomorrow. I'll tell you next week. The quality people, if you want, they take the time. And you must be thinking that we'll be doing the interview to hire Raghunandan. Actually, he was interviewing me. He's interviewing my MD. He's interviewing MD's family. He had 100 questions that we should answer, and he will say, I'll tell you. That is the quality. Then, once they join, you have seen the result in the last 24 months. You understand? That is, you should have that large heart. I always tell the family-driven companies, don't worry who built the company. It's your company only. It's your company only. Everybody says, every child says that who built Taj Mahal? Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal, they're right. Whether Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal, some contractor will have built the Taj Mahal. Correct? And Suresh will say his vision or mission or whatever the statement, doesn't matter. It is Taj Mahal is built by Shah Jahan. So family business is like Shah Jahan. Just sit. Let anybody build. You own it. For a professional, I tell them that you are a tenant, enjoy the property. Property is owned by the owner. That is the family. Doesn't make any difference. Only the property papers makes a difference. How does it matter who owns it, Hayat, as long as you stay in the hotel? Correct? It is as simple as that. Temple and the priest. I say that the family managed business is like a temple. Professionals like us, we are like priests. People will give us the respect to see the God, not to see us. But we'll get carried away. Oh, the people are coming, like I can, no, nothing. The moment some other priest comes, the respect will go to him. They come there to see the God. That's the family managed business. So it is very easy to run. It's a beautiful to work with the children. If you can't manage your own children, take it from me, you cannot manage your business also. I'm talking from simple common sense. You can't manage your children whom you have seen for the last 25 years, and you are trying to say that I'll manage a professional whom you don't know at all. Is it possible? Impossible. Professionals are the people, if they get hurt, they send email that I will move on. They'll send you on a Friday night so they can go to the pub. They'll move on from Monday onwards. Whether children can do that? They'll cry in front of the mother. That father scolded me in front of 10 people when it was not required. They can't put in the papers. They will never put in the papers. They only cry in front of the mother. And they say that father should not have told like this. And it is the stupidity of the parents who does such things in the office places, wherein children will lose out on the interest on a long-term basis. Whether the second generation, third generation, fourth generation, it's all in your hands. You need to encourage your own children. You need to trust your own people's capability. Skill can be imparted in anybody's brains as long as they're interested in doing that. And that's my advice to all of you, that trust your children, children will do better, and running a family business is very, very easy. And be an insider, be an outsider, and don't think that the professionals are lined up to queue, and in a queue to join your company. No, unless, as Renuka Ramanathan said, that you need to give them the freedom, you need to give them the canvas, big canvas to paint, and then only they'll come and join. And when they join, they transform the business. And again, mindset-wise, I say that a family-managed business is like a train. We are the drivers. People come in, people get out. Some people take the ticket to go from Chennai to Delhi. If they're not happy, they get down halfway. It doesn't mean that a train will wait for them, and train should not wait for them. Many will come, many will go, and never even worry about it. Good people will come, bad people will go, bad people will come, good people will go. This is like a train. Don't worry about it. Keep going towards your destination. Because there is one other stop, a nice person will come inside. A good person has gone, don't stop the train. Oh, he has left, now what will happen? Nothing will happen. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And that is family managed business. Wonderful to work with. And all of you represent families, and the businesses encourage your children, give them an opportunity to prove that they are better than you. And in public, in private, admire them and encourage them and give the confidence in them, and they'll never make mistake. As if you are not made mistake. You have made blunders. You only don't tell anything. Everybody have done blunders. But children, if they make a mistake, useless fellow. That's what they tell at home. And never make dining table as a boardroom. Never discuss in front of the family about your children. And never have your wife as a spokesperson for children. So that you tell him to do tell. And she will tell him to tell this. Never do that. Simple. And in our office, we are very, very clear. All the family members are there. They're doing extremely well. They're all professionals. They do extremely good job. And poor people, our family members in our company, they work non-stop, 12 hours every day, and they don't take any leave because the pressure on them is so much to prove. And we have taken from 0 to 1,500 crore, and 1,500 crore for them to take 3,000 crore, I know that is more difficult. Percentage-wise, it is just doubling the turnover. But 1,500 crore to 3,000 crore is a Herculean task for the next generation. So we should appreciate such things, and we should appreciate the talent in everybody's children, because your children, they will have your DNA. So you need to respect that and give them an opportunity. So any questions, I'll take it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ullas, for this very valuable, candid views, supporting professionalization and professionals. And I mean, to me, there were a couple of very interesting takeaways. I think one of the key points was that the ownership is not a right to run the business. Ownership is more of a responsibility. And owners need not be the managers, because as the organization changes, you have to have the right mix of capabilities coming in. And one should be clear and capable of taking that kind of a decision. I think that's the sort of an underlying message. Thank you very much. But all these things are not possible unless that kind of a shared values are there. So we will listen to Mr. Tatwamasi Dixit on these points.
Very good evening to all of you. Thanks to Suresh and Bala for inviting me here to share some thoughts. I'm going to share some thoughts in the field of familyness as to what is this, why it is important, and do we need to do this. I have put together a small presentation. Family business is a great opportunity, as Professor shared in the beginning. Very few people realize that it's a great blessing to be born in a family business, and that membership is a great blessing. And one can view the family business either whether it is a half glass empty or half glass full. Many people feel that I am stuck here, but people who view this as a great opportunity, they can do wonders with it. As part of these 4 pillars, we heard the importance of vision, we heard about the professionalization, we heard about the leadership, and the 4th pillar, one of the important pillars is familyness. And what is this familyness is all about? So what is familyness? Where families are able to nurture, energize the business, because when we say family business, the first word comes is family business. And the nurturing is only possible if there is an alignment in the vision. If people don't have an alignment in the vision between the non-working family members and the working family members and the professionals, it's not possible to create a familyness. And there are 2 kinds of vision possible at a larger level in family business. You take a custodian model or you build a partnership model. The partnership model is one where you are focusing on the current generation, and the custodian model is where you want to perpetuate the business from generation to generation. And there are very few families who take a custodianship view, and it's very important once they take that view as to why to create this familyness, because you can institutionalize the business. If you want to run a business which can perpetuate from generation to generation, it's necessary to institutionalize. And to institutionalize, it's only possible if you can professionalize the family business. Hiring the professionals does not mean that it's professionally run business. Unless the family managers, the owners, transform their orientation and say, we are going to act like professionals first, and bring in that value into the business and say that we are not going to behave like an owner and treat my managers like servant. Once upon a time, the orientation in India, it is still a very hierarchical society. Once upon a time, it was even more hierarchical. The professionals were treated like workers. It was a master-servant relationship. Now it is transformed. You cannot hire a senior professional unless you are ready to view them as peers. Unless you are ready to give them that respect, they won't come and join you. As Mr. Ullas said, they interview you more than you are interviewing them, if he is a smart professional. So always remember that. So it is, if you want to build an institution and transition from profit orientation to a triple bottom line. See, if you look at most of the family business, when I worked with number of family business, the first question I asked, what is the objective of family business? And why are you building this? And I was very happy to notice people who have, the families who have evolved from generation to generation, they don't refer profit as the first motto. They go beyond that and say, we are building this family business for our next generation. We have borrowed it from them, and it is our responsibility to ensure we build it. They talk about institution building, and that can happen only if you are able to bring in values into the family business. So, how to create this family nest where you can involve the good family values into the business? So, what holds the family together? That's a fundamental question to ask. If whether we are sticking together as a family, especially in a larger family, because the familial reason, or because the business is our only connect. If the money is the only reason which we are sticking together, because sometimes the business grows very big and it's so intertwined that you cannot separate it. And if you separate it, the value will go away. So you all stick around habitually for a long period of time, families. Then the question comes, because of the business reasons we are together and not for the family reasons. That decides if business is the key reason, we are a business family and not a family business. Once you decide we are a family business or a business family, the entire values, culture, how you run the business, how you model your business changes completely. In a business family, one needs to see whether they want to perpetuate from generation to generation. It's very important if you want to build an institution, if you want to build a family nest, we have to understand about 5 memberships which exist in large institutions and organizations. The first membership I call as associate members. Either your family member or a professional who is working in your family business, for always like a cat on a wall. They are watching you. They may not be, some people come in the beginning, they are watching you, but they are not committing to it. So they are called associate members. And in some organizations we find for after many, many years also, there are some professionals who are still not committing. They are always an associate member, even though they would have raised to the rank of president, vice president, whichever rank. So one needs to be watchful of that. The second membership is called professional membership, where they are committed to the roles and deliverables. They focus in that area. Then the third membership is institutional membership, where they are ready to commit to the organization's vision, mission, values. They are ready to go up and down along with the promoters, along with the family members. If something happens to family business, they won't jump out. The professional members, on the contrary, if things go really bad, they may jump out. One of the big business B schools teach to the professionals, when you walk in to a large organization, also you decide when are you going to exit. That's the orientation amongst the professional membership. They may take the business from a low area to a very high growth, but they may not stick around with you. However, the institutional members have a long-term orientation. The fourth membership is a co-founder membership, where the family, the professionals who are with you, they start imitating your vision, they start sharing your vision, they almost behave like a co-founder. They create businesses also. One of a large family called Chandrai family, you must have heard about them. They hired a professional and they empowered that professional so much, he created a new line of business and Olam was born, one of the biggest organization. It's very much possible to create co-founders if the family-ness is being indoctrinated in them. And the last is the founder membership. If you have so much passion, vision, not only you are the founder, you create so much energy and enthusiasm and vision in other family members and the professionals who are capable of creating different new businesses, different verticals, take to the next level to the organization. So as we speak about these 5 memberships, it is also necessary to find out what is the culture of the family in terms of the contracts. There are 3 kinds of contracts exist in family business. Also in other areas. First one is called economic contract. The second is called professional contract. The third one is called psychological contract. The first is economic contract, where the money is the key driver. How much am I going to get? How much am I going to be compensated? What is going to ultimately, what is going to be my ESOP? What is the valuation? What is the numbers? That's the core focus and orientation. Of course, money is important in everything. Once you move to the professional contract, people talk about what is the role? What is the meat I have? Is this role worthy for me? Do I want to take up this role? Whether a family member or a non-family member. And always the capable people will always focus in the area of professional contract. And the third one is the psychological contract, where the family members are ready to extend the emotional warmth, willingness and familyness to all the professionals, where they are ready to create a psychological bond. Many professionals you will find, they are ready to stick with you because of the psychological contract. If we understand the membership and contract, it's very much possible to create a family business which can perpetuate from generation to generation. That leaves us with few possibilities. How do you create a familyness? Number 1, if your family is in a mess, there is no familyness. There are many families who are struggling with their own problems. In such case, keep the family and business separate. Don't allow the family mess to come to the business, because the family is not in a position to nurture the business, grow the business, support the business. In such case, it's better to manage them separately. If the family is well developed, it's well grown and it has a lot of energy and potential, first, whether they can align the family values and business values. Many families may not have articulated values, but in business area they might have some articulated values. So the first step is to articulate what this family stands for, what all our core values and philosophy. And once it is articulated, it needs to be assessed whether the family value and business value are the same or not. If they are different, how to synergize them, how to align them. The best family businesses all over the world globally, you will see their family values and business values are very much the same. If they have a conflicting value, it's very necessary to sit down and figure out that how we can align them. Because sometimes business wants to grow at an aggressive pace. They may say entrepreneurship and risk is our value. And in the family, they will say that, look, the family togetherness, I want my husband to come back home. I don't want all the time him to run around. My children don't have their father next to them. So we want to grow at a much lower pace. We want the family togetherness and spend more time with the family. Then the conflicting values can pull each other. So once one has an aligned value system, it's possible to figure out, how you can bring the family and business together. Slowly, is your family ready to nurture the business? Once it's ready to nurture the business, slowly bring them together. They start supporting the business. They start giving energy to the business. Once it grows even better, gets strengthened, you can bring them even closer. You can merge them together. If that happens, there are 7 steps you can take to build the familyness in a business. The first one is we orientation. That with the professionals, the old system, hierarchical model is I and you. That should go away and we-ness should start coming in. The moment the we culture prevails, the familyness starts coming into the system. The second is gun for a psychological contract, which will promote the institutional membership, co-founder membership. And that can happen only if there is no ego between them. They are ready to share their thoughts. Empowerment. Empower the next generation family members. Empower the professionals as much as possible. Allowing them to make mistakes is very much important. Otherwise, they won't learn. A learning organization always focuses on empowerment in a very structured way. Look at an inclusive growth. Organization starting from money, how I can share my wealth with my professionals, how in what way I can help them also to grow. Psychologically, financially, otherwise. The moment this inclusive growth within the family also, if the father is controlling the purse, the next generation, their need for wealth, they have to always go back to their father asking for money. That's not an inclusive growth within the family. Many families still want to control the money as a key way to control their children. That's not an inclusive growth within the family. Create a system where every single family member and a professional have an opportunity to feel the financial freedom. Next is appreciative culture. Bring in a culture of appreciation to family member and also to professionals. Organizations who have brought in an appreciative culture, they have been able to grow much better. Personal touch. We should know everything about every single employee of the organization. One of the organization where I work very closely, I'm an independent director on their board. The chairman tells the children, the next generation members, to remember every single name. There are 10,000 employees in that organization. It's very important to know their name personally, understand them personally, relate to them at an equal level, where you are able to have a personal connect with each one of them. Next is familial engagement. Participate in their family engagements and bring them to your family in every single, as every opportunity presents itself. Don't keep them as a separate, treat them as a separate entity. More the familial engagement, more the possibility of creating a familyness in the organization. Finally, it's very important to understand that if anybody wants to build a family business which can perpetuate from generation to generation, the only mantra is run your business like family and run your family like a business. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Dixit, for this very useful insight and the significance of having values as the fundamental building block of building an institution. And for me, it was a great experience of listening to the very interesting thoughts. I was reminded of the work on In Search of Excellence and the building great institutions. And some of the building blocks of great institutions are the clarity in terms of the vision, values, structure, systems, processes, as well as the alignment among the various human resources within the organization and all the stakeholders. So it reminds me of the typical 7S framework that we discuss in the management context. So it's a very, very useful discussion. We had very useful inputs. So I wanted to share with you the results of a survey we had done. So what we did was that prior to this conference, I prepared a questionnaire which was circulated among many people, many of you, and we collected feedback, we collected the responses. We got 44 people responding, all owner managers, and we have the panelists who are not honor managers, who are all otherwise involved in this. So I tried to do some sort of a symbol analysis of it, and I would like you to look at it. So one dimension we looked at is trust and transparency. To what extent trust and transparency are prevalent, practiced by families, and your own candid responses. Without getting into the details of it, I don't know whether you can read it from there or not. Is it? Yes, okay. Do you have complete trust in the capabilities of the non-family professional? 23 out of 44 said yes. Quite a few people, if you look at it, is taken the neutral ground. That means that you don't completely trust in the capabilities of the individual. And trust has 4 dimensions. Very often when we talk about trust, it is considered as a unidimensional. If you analyze it, do you trust the capabilities of the individual? That's one part. Do you trust in the integrity of the individual, which is quite different from the capabilities? The individual may be the best person, but he would take his commission along with any transaction. So that raises the question about the integrity. So when it comes to integrity, it comes down a little bit. The third dimension of trust is the confidentiality. Can you trust this individual with the confidential information about the family, about the ownership, about the dynamics, of variety of these things? So we find that it comes down further. Only 16 out of 44 completely agree. Another 3, so about 19 of them said they almost agree with that you can trust the individual with the confidential information. And the fourth dimension, which I believe is important, is can you trust whether the individual will continue to stay with the organization or not? And that goes up. So the fundamental question coming out is that with all this discussion about professionalization, handing over responsibilities, handing the key over to the non-family executives, I don't think that the audience here, or some representation of it, if I take it, is ready for that. Because I don't get the impression that there is enough trust and transparency already prevailing.